The NBA playoffs are continuing on down in the bubble. If you like our content, we'd really appreciate it if you give us a like, share our stuff, and if you want a notification every time we post a new video, hit the bell. We've got Heat Celtics squaring off in game one of this big matchup out east, or I guess not out east. I guess it's in Orlando, but Eastern Conference. Heat coming off that gentleman's sweep over the top-seeded Bucks in the East. Celtics needed 7 games, but took down the Raptors. Nick from the Insider's Room is here to talk this matchup out east, as I say, where the Celtics are favored minus 1.5. The total is 209.5. So, Nick, what's the play here?
Well, as you mentioned, Chelsa, the top 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference, they're both now out. And so it's the number 3 Celtics and the number 5 Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals on Tuesday night. You know, Miami hasn't been to the finals since LeBron James left back in 2014. The Heat, I mean, if anybody's watched them, clearly they've been one of the best and most consistent teams so far in the bubble. They got rid of the Pacers in 4 games, as you mentioned. They took care of the Bucks in 5. And that's a big reason why.
They've been really good against the number, too.
They have. They've just been exceeding all expectations. And a big reason behind that is Miami is really shooting the ball well in the playoffs. They're led by 19.8 points from Jimmy Butler, but 4 other players also score in double figures. Tyler Herro, Jay Crowder, Duncan Robinson. They're all contributing right now. But the Celtics, you know, they just came through. They have to be brimming with confidence here. They finally got over the hump taking care of Toronto. They held on for a 92-87 win in Game 7 against the Raptors, and they forced 18 turnovers, which led to 31 points in that victory. I really like Jason Tatum, and I think that Miami is actually going to struggle slowing him down. He's averaging 25.3 points and 10.1 boards, but he also has Jaylen Brown, who's averaging 21 points, Marcus Smart, and Kemba Walker. They're also averaging double figures as well. But if you look at this spread, if you look at what Las Vegas has set, with a spread like this, obviously the odds makers think these teams are really evenly matched. Miami backers, they're going to argue that the Heat have had a few extra days off after taking care of the Bucks, and that Boston had to go all the way, the whole 7 games. And so, I mean, I can't deny that the Heat have had a few extra days off, but the Celtics will have had 3 whole days off themselves to recover and prepare for this. So for me personally, I'm not reading anything at all into that particular factor coming into Game 1. But here's the clincher for me. Boston, it's only 3-6 against the spread in its last 9 in this series, but it's 5-1 straight up its last 6 in this series. So that's the icing on the cake for me. My play in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals is on Boston on the money line, approximately minus 120 or minus 125.
Well, we've seen a lot of these games in the Eastern Conference go really down to the wire. Remember that game with Toronto hitting that 3 at the buzzer, which definitely lost a lot of people some money. Not me, but
yeah,
but
that was
also
one of those shockers for sure.
For both of these teams, defense is a strong factor. It looks like the East has a lot of teams that are really well coached and play actually some really solid defense, and they spread the ball around. It's not about one player or 2 players. It's about their entire starting 5 and also a couple guys coming off the bench. But another trend to look at is the under for the Celtics. They have hit the under in 8 of their last 9, including last game, which had a total of 204 and still went under by a lot, a 92-87 final score, which I know in elimination games, usually that's the case when it comes to unders. But I think the under's worth a look here, maybe at 209.5, even though the Heat do have some good 3-point shooters.
I really like that play. I would agree with you. And I would say that little bit of extra time off for Miami probably is not going to help with their chemistry and their momentum, that they were playing their best when it was almost every other day that they were playing. And that chemistry could perhaps be disrupted with this little bit of extra time off. So yeah, I don't think that Boston wants to get into a shootout with Miami. The last thing they want to do, is get into a track meet. they would rather make this a chess match, and that's where Boston is going to prevail. So I would definitely lean to the under as well.
Plus, it's 209.5, which at the start of the bubble sounds really low. But actually, for a lot of these games, that's been par for the course. Like I mentioned, it was 204 in the final game of Celtics Raptors. So the unders have been hitting a lot more than the start of the season or regular season games where no one was playing any defense. I know that's the knock on the NBA this season or in general for the modern era of basketball, but we have seen really solid defenses from both of these teams.
For sure. That's a very interesting point that you brought up. It was just an unbelievably high scoring regular season, and that kid did carry over into the bubble and perhaps for a few games into the playoffs, but there's no question that the scoring is trending down now that the playoffs have really arrived here. No question about it.
Right. And as you mentioned, the odds makers expect this to be a good game. And so it should be a fun one to watch. That's going to do it for Heat and Celtics talk here on Picks and Parlays. Nick, thanks for joining us.